What's up guys, welcome to Voicey here. This is your host and Treasure Planet supporter, Captain Zach, and today's subreddit is r/IDontWorkHereLady with a little bonus from r/Today I Fudged Up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. This story's called, I Don't Work Here, I Work in That, Ambulance. Years ago, in the early 2000s, I was working 24-hour shifts on an ambulance. Since we were working these extended shifts, we had a kitchen and whatnot at our station. So if we didn't have a call right at the beginning of our shift, after our rig and equipment checks, the first thing we do in the morning is grocery shopping for the day. Now, just to be sure it's clear that there's no possible way for us to be mistaken for the uniform of the store employees, we wore blue button-down shirts, had a patch on one arm that said State of Redacted, and our certification level, either EMT Basic or Paramedic, and on the other arm had a patch with our company logo on it. We had dark blue pants with about 500,000 pockets, radios on our belts, etc. The grocery store employees' uniforms were either a white or tan shirt and black pants, and usually some type of apron with the store logo. The last bit of info I should add is that the area we worked in was one of the richest neighborhoods in our metro area, and usually the cheapest car you saw in the parking lot was a Lexus. So now that the stage is set, comes our adventure. My partner and I were at the store doing our shopping for the day, and it was relatively quiet Sunday morning. Other than us, there were only a couple of other shoppers in that store, and several employees were plainly visible during their morning duties. I'm busy trying to decide if I want a link or patty sausages for my breakfast. When I hear the classic, ahem, I'm pretty engrossed, because let's be honest, it's an important decision, and now I'm weighing bacon into the mix too, and I really don't pay too much attention. Then I hear it again, accompanied by finger snapping. I'm broken out of my sizzling reverie by this, and think maybe I'm blocking someone's access to the cooler? Turn around, and there's this lady in her 60s, dressed up way too fancy for an early Sunday morning grocery run, and she's glaring daggers at me. I'm sorry, ma'am, am I blocking your way? No, I need... Can't remember the exact item she was looking for. I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm not an employee, I work for Redacted, the ambulance company. However, I've seen a couple of employees a few aisles over. I'm sure they'll be happy to help. Young man, you will do your job. I need you to find item for me. Ma'am, again, I'm really sorry, but I do not work here. I work on the ambulance you had to walk past to come in. We always park right up in front just in case we get a call. Now, I apologize, but I need to finish my shopping so we can get back to the station. I reach into the cooler, grab a package of bacon, because bacon always wins in the end, and plop it into my basket, turn and start to leave. And this crazy old bat decides to shove her cart in my way to try to block me from walking away from her. Young man, my husband is... Name that apparently she thought I should recognize. And my shopping here pays your wages. Do your job and help me now. Between the crash of her cart hitting the cooler and her escalating tone of voice, we've, thankfully, caught the attention of one of the store employees. They come around the corner and turns out it's the store manager. I recognize her because we've run calls at the store before. Mrs. Name, please calm down and I'll gladly help you. She's getting wound up to start yelling again, and about that time, my radio starts going off. When we're assigned to a call, it starts beeping very loudly. I silence it, turn to the store manager, and apologize to her for running off and leaving my groceries in the cart. But we're getting a call and I have to go. She's very understanding, and as I'm walking off, I hear the old bat asking, yelling at, the store manager, where does he think he's going? I need item! And her reply, presumably to his ambulance to respond to that call, since that's his job? Okay, yeah, entitled people aside, 24-hour shifts? How? Okay, someone explain in the comments below, please, how these 24-hour shifts work. Do you have to constantly worry about getting ambulance calls at any given moment? You know, like you could be sleeping, and then it goes off and you're like, oh crap, someone's dying, I gotta go. You know, is that a thing? Do you get paid well? Because that's a commitment right there. 24-hour shifts like that, ugh. Like, I understand that you're not constantly working for the 24 hours, unless you are, in which case that's just cruel working conditions, but like having to be alert for those 24 hours straight, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of, oof. Or is it like one of those things where you get, 1 day on, 3 days off sort of thing? It's 24 hours. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting stuck on that, but that's just, oof, gaga. This story's called, You Just Watched Me on Stage. I'm not the bartender, remember? I'm a full-time touring singer-songwriter, and this happens often. And usually it resolves itself very quickly when I say, I'm not the bartender, but this one didn't go that way. I was playing a show at a bar I played dozens of times. I'm good friends with the staff and even have a weekday residency there when I'm not playing my usual out-of-state gigs. The opening band was on and doing great, so people were already in the spirit of a fun night out. We were about 30 minutes from our showtime and I just wanted to refill on my soda water. I was standing at the end of the bar in the doorway of the folding bar top door, talking with one of the bartenders and the cook while in between their fast-paced service. Thankfully, the bar was filling up for the show and they were getting more and more slammed. There was a problem with the CO2 tank or whatever makes the soda water come out of the gun. So the manager/owner was in the back handling it and I was patiently waiting, shooting the bull between their back and forth walking to fill orders. Unfortunately, the line was stacking up because of the non-functioning soda gun. A Karen, about 45 or so, walks up to me and says, "Rum and Coke, please," without so much as looking at me. It took me a second to answer because I didn't realize she was talking to me. She is digging in her purse and finds her money and then finally looks at me and says, "I need a rum and Coke. The show's about to start and I don't want to be standing here when it does." Delighted she's here to see me, I say, thanks for coming. Sorry, I'm not the bartender. They'll get your order right down there," and point to the growing order line. She huffs and makes a dramatic gesture of grabbing her purse and huffs over to get in line. A few minutes pass, the CO2 is fixed, the backed up line gets all their orders, I get my soda, Karen gets a rum and Coke, and I walk on stage. During the show, I can see Karen having a good time at a table with two couples. She's solo. Wonder why? And she even rewards me and the band with a few loud "woo" usually when I'm telling the story to set up the next song. That's nothing I'm not used to, and it's my job to play music, not to teach people manners. So we roll on ahead and have a good time. Standard set is over, and we even get a "one more song" encore with Karen participating. So we play an old cover and throw the jam around for a while, then call it a night. Last call is about 45 minutes away, so people linger a while and I go to the merch table and meet a few fans, new and old. No Karen though. By the time that's done, last call is about 20 minutes away. So I stroll back to my spots at the end of the bar by the bar top door and ask for another soda water. As I'm standing there, who should approach but Karen? I'm about to thank her again for coming to the show and for her enthusiasm while we played. But before I can get it out, she says, "Rum and Coke," again, without even looking at me. Again. I try to be polite to people that paid their hard-earned money to come to my show. And I was trying to figure out how to politely answer this when the bartender walked over, handed Karen her check, and said quite loudly, "I can't serve you anymore, ma'am. Can I call you a cab?" She is flabbergasted and embarrassed and snorts something about it being BS and looks at me like, "Can you believe him?" Bartender replies, "Don't look at him. You just watched him play guitar for almost 2 hours and then tried to order a drink from him. I think you're done." She pays and stomps over to her table and we can see her relay it to all her friends. They look over and see me waving and give an embarrassed wave back and herd her out the door. Bonus! Months later, I'm playing a different bar in the same Metroplex and a couple come to the show, and then to the meet and greet at the merch table afterward. They look familiar, but I can't place them. This is normal. I meet a lot of people. Until they say, "So a while back, we came to see you at the first bar, and this lady we were with thought you were the bartender, and I remember, and we all have a good laugh." Apparently, the two ladies from the two couples worked together with Karen. They were talking about the upcoming show, and she invited herself to come along without knowing anything about me or my music. The best part was when the lady ended with, "Yeah, but she doesn't work with us anymore," with a very satisfied smile. Kudos to our Redditor here for breaking into the singer-songwriter industry that is, I would say, oversaturated, but even that would be an understatement. And also for keeping it humble, you know? This story's called "Nearly Got Assaulted for Being a Decent Human Being." Backstory. I used to work for a supermarket. No, not Walmart or Target or the like. We do have several stores scattered across the Midwest, but outside of that, most people haven't even heard of them. I was normally a cashier, but after volunteering to do a job no one else wanted to do, they quickly realized how amazing I was and would schedule me in that position as much as possible. What's the job, you ask? I signed people up for store credit cards. Everyone else hated it, because you would walk around the store and get told off by customers. But since I'm a really friendly person and don't take a whole lot too personally, most people were really friendly with me and I got good sales. I enjoyed it because the walking kept me in shape and was easier on my feet, one of which is deformed, long story. One of the nice things about this job was that I was allowed to wear business casual clothing when I was scheduled to do cards. I won't go into the details, but due to life happening, I had gone back to living with my dad for a time. I don't have a car though, and since I no longer lived within walking distance at work, I had to take the bus from the nearby Kroger. On this day, I was wearing a nice blue shirt with buttons that went from the collar to the sleeves, along with some black slacks. Now, one thing that has always bothered me, especially after starting at store and really seeing just how lazy people are, is when people leave their carts in the middle of the parking lot. I might not work for Kroger, but the dedicated employee in me would still get worked up whenever I saw this. Here's the cast. Lazy jerk. Awful woman. Me. So I'm sitting there, waiting for the bus to come, when I see lazy jerk shove his cart on top of the little medium that end caps the parking lot. I know it's not my business, but I'm not in uniform and this really does bother me. Had I been in uniform though, I would have left it alone in case he recognized my uniform and took it out on the store. I hate when people are jerks and take advantage of companies and employees just because they're customers and can get away with it. I consider this karma for all the times I had to bite my tongue at work. You know that's how people get dents in their car. I can leave it where I want. And he flips me off. I sigh and get up to go grab the cart. I know it's not my job, but I have a personal rule that if you see something that's worth enough to you to speak up about, it's worth enough to do something about it. So I check my watch to make sure I've still got plenty of time till the bus comes, then get up and walk over to get the cart. I have a little trouble getting it off the medium, and the cart starts to fall towards the car. I quickly catch it though, and it doesn't even come close to hitting it. This still ticked off lazy jerk and awful woman though, and they both got out of their car. Watch it, you almost hit my car. So it's okay for other people's cars to get dented, but not yours? I hate hypocrites. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Lazy jerk towers over me and tries to be intimidating. If you freaking touch my car. Go ahead, there's cameras everywhere. You freaking bench, I'm telling Lois. Name changed, you'll be sorry. Go ahead. I don't work here. I'm just a decent human being trying to look out for other people. A concept you wouldn't understand. I take the cart back to the store and put it away before going back to the bus stop. And lazy jerk and awful woman leave. While I waited, I let a store employee know what happened, worried they might call to complain, so they would know what happened and that none of their staff was to blame. I knew they thought I worked there because my shirt was the same color as the uniform, and awful woman threatened to tell on me, and I didn't want an innocent person to get in trouble on my account. I also called the store later that day during my break so I could let the manager know as well. Okay, so I wouldn't do what this person, what the Redditor did, you know, actually call someone out on it because I personally don't see it as a big deal. It's just people being too lazy to, you know, care. They don't really give it a second thought, but you know, usually if I see a couple stray carts, you know, within a reasonable distance, I will get them and put them in the cart bank thing that's in the parking lots of like Walmart. You know, so I can kind of understand where this person's coming from, but I would not think it's worth calling people out for. But yeah, good on you for being considerate enough to do that and, you know, deal with that. This story's called Today I forked up by denying my son a medical treatment even though I knew it would help him. So, my first son, Matt, has always been a pain in the booty. Loud-mouthed, energetic, the whole deal since he was 2 years old. He is now 19 and my other son, Anthony, is 17. Since they were kids, Matt has tormented Anthony nearly daily whenever he has the opportunity. That's just a little backstory on the family. I love them both, but me and Matt have never had a great relationship, and he's just not really a nice kid, so to speak. Anthony is an extremely well-behaved and nice kid. Both my kids have always been on the shorter side for their age, considering I'm 5'8", male, and my wife is 4'10". We always expected the two of them to end up on the shorter side. When Matt got to middle school, his growth seemed to slow down a lot, and he dropped from the 10th percentile to below the 1st. He entered 8th grade at 4'7". I took him to a specialist, he had some tests done, and it was determined that he has a significant growth hormone deficiency that can be treated with injections. On a phone call, the doctor estimated that Matt would reach an adult height of 5'7" or 5'8" with the growth hormone treatments, and 5'3", 5'4" without it. The treatment would also cost me several $1,000s. He said it's not vital to do, but he'd recommend it based on the estimates of Matt's potential adult height. Between the cost of the treatment and the fact that Matt at the time was acting like a spoiled teenager / torturing his brother constantly, I decided he wasn't deserving of the treatment, that I wasn't spending thousands of dollars on him for this. That's his punishment for behaving the way he does all the time. I said no, and the doctor said, as long as you're okay with him being 5'4", and I said that's fine with us. I didn't tell Matt or my wife about the phone call with the doctor and the treatable deficiency of growth hormone. I just let it go after that. For the next 2 years at our primary care physician, a different doctor, Matt barely grew at all, and I just told the doc that the specialist had said Matt was a late bloomer. I didn't care if he only ended up reaching 5'4", and he saved me money in the process. 2 years go by, Matt was 16 and a half, and our primary doc referred us to the specialist again to follow up, since Matt had only grown 3 inches to 4'10". The specialist did a bone scan. He then returned with the news that Matt's growth plates had closed, and that he reached his adult height. Matt's growth hormone deficiency ended up being more severe than expected, with his levels now being very low. But we didn't know this because we didn't follow up with the specialist for almost 3 years. Fast forward to the present, Matt is now 19 years old and 4'11". I regret not getting him the treatments and feel horrible about it still. He deals with a ton of crap due to his height that he mostly does not deserve. It would have been fine if the doctor's prediction of 5'4" was accurate, but at 4'11", he's nearly a foot shorter than the average adult male, 5'10", and is just an extremely small guy. He's about 110 pounds. This is essentially his defining characteristics, as it is impossible not to notice. And I definitely underestimated the impact that being short can have on someone's life. When they're over at our house, he takes crap from his 5'9" to 6 foot tall friends constantly, and he can't really give it back. He's also become much more passive the past few years, and is no longer picking fights with Anthony, who is now 5'8", 150 pounds, as he didn't have the deficiency. Matt, Anthony, and my wife still don't know that his deficiency was fully treatable, and he would have been 5'7" or 8. I don't plan on ever telling that to him, as I don't want him to feel bad. The today part is that I just got off the phone with him a few hours ago, and he complained for about 30 minutes how much crap he's getting for his height in college so far, and how it's impacting everything he does. Okay, as someone who was a late bloomer and grew up pretty short, I can tell you that height is very important. I mean, thankfully now I'm average height, around 5'10". But, you know, like in 4th grade, I was like 4'4", 4'5", and I didn't grow until I hit about 15 or 16, I think. And let me tell you, I didn't even realize I was growing. But yeah, being short is really lame because it really affects your masculinity and your confidence. Oh my god, your confidence. You really don't think anything of yourself other than that you're short. As far as the dad, not giving his son the treatment, that was pretty immature, if I'm being honest here, I guess it's not really petty resentment, but still, that's your kid and you made him stay a kid essentially. What's your take on this, guys? I'm interested in knowing. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.